Hello, my name is Dina Pannone. Today we're going to discuss the research questions, my hypothesis, and my framework for my research project. So moving into our first slide, conceptual framework. So I'm going to be going with qualitative research design. For this qualitative design will be used as the basis for the conceptual framework for the study. The goal of this design is to discern the participants' understanding of how to create an inclusive, culturally relevant classroom environment and what these concepts mean and look like in practice. Experimental and exploratory approaches will be taken as part of the conceptual framework in hopes of gaining information and wisdom from the lived experiences of first-year teachers and to determine processes and mechanisms that will result in a particular context. So the problem statement that I have put together along with the help of my professor is university teacher preparation programs are not providing pre-service teachers with the necessary tools in order to create inclusive, culturally responsive classrooms. The proposed statement includes the purpose of this research is to identify the necessary tools needed to be taught in a pre-service teaching program to support inclusive and culturally responsive classrooms. Okay, so the relevance of the framework. So I'm going to be working with an experimental and exploratory framework. I believe that both of them together help me to be able to attain what I'm looking for. So through the application of a qualitative research approach, data will be collected to provide a focus and a rationale for the study. In addition, a tool for the integration of the interpretive data will be created. Through the process of this, of the qualitative approach, there will be an explanation of new insights received from the formal interviews conducted with first-year teachers. The interviews will pose questions that will allow first-year teachers to describe their educational background, their perceptions of readiness after graduating the university, ways in which they believe they create an inclusive, culturally responsive classroom, skills they believe they will be lacking to achieve their goal or goals in the classroom, and their perceptions of their effectiveness in these areas. Based on the information gathered during the interviews, a rationale will be developed identifying the key relationships between variables and patterns will be identified in order to determine their sources. These relationships will explain how one variable affects another and will seek to identify causal mechanics and processes that should be applied in order to obtain a determined outcome. In this case, being the ability to create an inclusive, culturally responsive environment. So some of the qualitative research questions that I'm going to be focusing on are on completion of this coursework, to what extent did first-year teachers perceive they were prepared to teach a diverse student body and create an inclusive, culturally responsive classroom? Also, what do participants perceive they needed to learn in order to have the necessary tools to create an inclusive, culturally responsive classroom? How did the participants attempt to create an inclusive classroom? What factors did participants perceive might have better prepared them? And what factors did participants perceive were lacking in order for them to be able to achieve their goal? The quantitative research question is, how did the coursework of the pre-service teachers preparation program affect the first year teacher's ability to create an inclusive, culturally responsive classroom? So for my research hypothesis, I'm hypothesizing that it is anticipated that first-year teachers will express that although they have knowledge of the importance of creating an inclusive, culturally responsive classroom, they do not have the tools needed to weave these practices throughout their daily lessons. It'll be necessary to apply both experimental and exploratory approaches as part of the conceptual framework in order to better understand the skills that first-year teachers perceive they have learned from the university program and the skills they feel that they still must learn in order to be successful. Gaining information and wisdom about their lived experiences through qualitative questions will help to determine the processes and mechanisms that will result in first-year teachers having the tools necessary to be able to create inclusive, culturally responsive atmospheres. There is a direct link between the conceptual framework being applied and the research questions, and the needed answers and research hypothesis. So thank you. This is all I have for now. I hope that everything is connected in the way that it should be, and I look forward to your recommendations, suggestions, and comments. Thank you.